Our weekly immigration news roundup is brought to you by the law firm of Figueroa and Associates. For consultation on any immigration or legal matter, please call 855-768-8845. That's 855-768-8845. For full stories and more immigration news, visit www.theimmigrantsjournal.com. That's www.theimmigrantsjournal.com.
Hello, my name is Mary Campbell, legal assistant at the law firm of Figueroa and Associates, and your presenter with this week's immigration news. We begin with, the federal government is cutting aid for migrant shelters and services. What will states do now? After months of contentious debate and near government shutdowns, Congress approved appropriations for fiscal year 2024, which President Biden quickly signed into law. The spending package contains several important immigration-related appropriations and provisions. Alarmingly, however, $800 million has been cut from the Shelter and Services Program, SSP, under the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and transferred to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP. SSP funding allows states and localities to recuperate some of the costs they sustain in providing services, such as shelter and medical care, to migrants. The cuts to SSP funding, previously distributed under the Emergency Food and Shelter Program Humanitarian, threaten to undermine the critical infrastructures that states and localities have employed to welcome newly arrived migrants over the past 2 years. In the absence of federal support, cities are now being forced to limit their aid to new arrivals. STEM-related petitions increased following USCIS updated policy guidance. A recent analysis by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, found that the number of petitions by or on behalf of foreign-born workers in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM, increased following a pair of guidance clarifications the agency made in January 2022. One outlines how foreign-born STEM professionals can qualify for an employment-based visa category, the EB-2, on their own, without first securing a job offer. The other clarifies how STEM professionals can meet the eligibility criteria for the O-1, a visa category for extraordinary ability. The shifts are part of ongoing efforts by the administration to alleviate critical STEM workforce shortages to help U.S. businesses succeed and better compete in the global economy. Meanwhile, NYC extends DACA's $432 million migrant contract another 7 months. New York City has partially extended its 1-year, $432 million contract with DACA, the for-profit mobile healthcare company that has faced controversy while overseeing the sheltering of migrants upstate. Citi is not renewing the contract. DACA told its investors it received an extension. The 7-month extension of services comes after the contractor has been dogged with investigations, lawsuits, and audits. New York City indicated it plans to transition its work to a relatively cheaper provider, Garner Environmental Services, a professional disaster relief company. Staten Island shelter protests continue despite migrants' fears for their safety. Migrants who live at the facility and spoke with Documented said protesters bang on the metal fences and yell through their megaphones until late at night. They sometimes circle the building from 7 p.m. until midnight. Inside the shelter, the migrants warn each other when the protesters have arrived. Some women migrants told Documented that they have been called prostitutes in Spanish, and that they fear for their safety going out alone. Several migrants said they were concerned about their children. In other news, USCIS adopts Department of Labor definition of science or art. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is issuing policy guidance to add the U.S. Department of Labor, DOL, definition of science or art for Schedule A, Group A cases. For many employment-based second and third preference, EB-2 and EB-3, petitions, employers must obtain a labor certification from DOL before filing Form I-140, Immigrant Petition for Alien Workers, with USCIS. For certain occupations, referred to as Schedule A occupations, DLL has predetermined that there are not sufficient U.S. workers who are able, willing, qualified, and available. For these occupations, employers submit the labor certification directly to USCIS, bypassing DLL review. Currently, DLL has designated two groups of occupations under Schedule A: registered nurses and physical therapists, Group I, and beneficiaries with exceptional ability in the sciences or arts, except performing arts, and beneficiaries with exceptional ability in performing arts, Group AI. Even after horrific deaths of migrating relatives, desperate young Guatemalans try to reach the U.S. The record-high numbers of migrants illegally crossing the U.S.-Mexico border have made migration a top concern in this U.S. presidential election year. Among those migrants, the largest group of unaccompanied minors has been from Guatemala. Nearly 50,000 of the 137,000 encounters recorded by border authorities in the last fiscal year. Tens of thousands of youths from this region would rather take deadly risks, even repeatedly, than stay behind where they see no future. Blanca's fatal journey was her third attempt to reach the U.S. NYC Dominicans targeted in real estate scams back home. After a pandemic-era rise in Dominicans in the U.S. buying properties back home, fear of getting scammed has them thinking twice. While owning property in New York City is often unattainable for the average Dominican working family, their wallets go a lot further in the DR now. Dominicans in the city have been cautious about investing. Claims on social media of real estate fraud and news of a crackdown of a real estate fraud network have raised fears around scamming. Finally, Trump bemoans lack of immigrants from majority white countries to the U.S. Ex-president avoided past shithole countries' racist invective, but said the U.S. hadn't gotten enough immigrants from nice countries. Thank you.
Our weekly immigration news roundup is brought to you by the law firm of Figueroa and Associates. For consultation on any immigration or legal matter, please call 855-768-8845. That's 855-768-8845. For full stories and more immigration news, visit www.theimmigrantsjournal.com. That's www.theimmigrantsjournal.com.